Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Hollywood Memories. I'm Dan Roberts, publisher of The Vegas Voice, and I have the fantastic pleasure of sharing this new desk with my number one columnist, the other woman in my life, and that is the wonderful, fantastic Beverly Washburn.
Wow, what is it? Wow, thank you.
Well, it's a new desk. We go all that.
Thank you, Dan. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I'm very excited today because we have a very special guest. You're going to love him, and you're going to remember him from one of the most loved TV series ever, Lassie. He played Timmy, the little boy, and I'm so happy that when I called him and asked him if he would be part of our little segment, without even hesitation, he said, of course, and that means so much. Thank you so much, Jon. We're so happy to have you. So let's do a warm welcome to my friend, your soon-to-be friend, and all of your soon-to-be friends, Jon Provost.
Jon, thank you so much for appearing.
And thank you for that beautiful introduction, Beverly. We go back a long, long way. And Dan, you were right. You've got a really incredible lady sitting next to you.
You know, Jon, I am so fortunate when I met Beverly now 15, 16 years ago, and she told me about her career, and I never, ever imagined that I would have the opportunity to speak to other actors, actresses that really played an important part in my life growing up, and that was you. Let's just kick it off, being Timmy in the TV show Lassie, and everybody my age watched you in Lassie. And I mean, that's just a hell of an accomplishment.
It was kind of, inevitable. I mean, back then, we only had 3 channels, basically, 3 networks, maybe 4 if you were in a big city.
Right.
And then, Dan, truthfully, no one has ever come up to me and said they hated Lassie. So.
Oh, you can't. Jon, I have like a million questions, and Beverly's going to smack me and shut me up. But just, I guess, overall, you played Timmy, Lassie. Did you realize how big a role that was on TV?
Yeah, no, I mean, we didn't even think people were going to be, black and white, and then now, here we are, oh my gosh, 60 years late, more than 60 years.
More.
And the show is still on in over 60 countries in reruns. Here in the United States, it's on a couple dozen different cable networks. But we didn't have a clue that, people would be watching. I mean, we thought, you watch something and then it goes away. But no, not these early shows.
This will live on forever, I think.
One of the quick questions I have for you, Jon, and I've asked Beverly a couple of times, is as a child actor and actress, did it go to your head as a little kid? Did you understand that you were different than the normal boys and girls like me watching you every week?
Well, yes. And because you see, I had an older brother and older sister. I was the youngest. And, they would get up in the morning and they would go to school. My father, he would get up and he would go to work. He was an aeronautical engineer. And my mom and I, we would get up and we'd go to the studio. So, yeah, it was different. And I knew I was different. The thing is, yes, I think child actors, and I know for myself, I missed out on a lot of things that, quote, regular, normal kids could do. But on the other side, I got to do a lot of cool things that other kids didn't get to do. So it was kind of a trade-off.
One question that people asked me to ask you, because everyone was excited, the idea that Beverly and I are going to be speaking with you, and it might sound kind of silly, so forgive me, but did you like working with the dogs?
Oh,
he's a huge animal.
I mean, right? No. For one thing, Dan, you couldn't fake that relationship between the boy and the dog. That was real. I did the show for 7 years, 249 half-hour episodes. And in that time, I only worked with 3 different Lassies, only one at a time. We didn't have 5 dogs to do different things. That was Red Weatherwax, one Lassie at a time. I worked with 3 in 7 years. The one dog I worked with the longest was Baby. I worked with him from when I was 9 to 14, 5 years. We grew up together. We slept together. We ate together. We did everything together. And talk about bonding. I loved him. He loved me, but we were friends. If I told him to do something, he'd look at me and like, nah, you're my friend. You're not my trainer. So, we did have boundaries, but that last dog, Baby, for 5 years, couldn't fake that. I loved him so much.
And he loved you.
Oh, God, yes.
So, but getting back to your question when you asked if it went to his head or if he thought it made him different, like he said. But I can vouch for Jon and tell you that he is one of the nicest, most humble, kind people in the world. He loves his fans, and the fans love him, and it's never gone to his head. He's just he's just one of the good guys.
Yeah. And when I started looking at you, going back over your career, Jon, you were a veteran by the time you hit Lassie, or after a couple of seasons. You were a well-seasoned actor in both TV and in the movies. Is that correct?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I started Lassie when I was 7, but by time I had been in 10 movies, even some early live television. My first job, I was not quite 3 years old. It was So Big, starring Jane Wyman and Sterling Hayden. Now, I mentioned before, my father was an aeronautical engineer. My parents were from the South, from Alabama and from Texas. They weren't Hollywood people. They were never in the business. Nobody in my family. But Mom read an article in the LA Times in 1952 that Warner Brothers was looking for a 2 to 3 year old blonde boy to be in this movie with Jane Wyman. Well, Mom, growing up on the farm in Texas, her idol was Jane Wyman. We didn't live in Hollywood. We were living in Pasadena. But Mom thought if she took me on that audition, she was going to meet Jane Wyman and get her autograph. The only reason my mom took me, and now Beverly can relate to this. When Mom took me on this audition, it was what they called a cattle call. There were over 200 little boys and little girls whose moms had cut their hair, 3 years old, 2 years old. And lo and behold, I got the job, got an agent that same day. And then the next movie was The Country Girl with Bing Crosby and Grace Kelly. That led to a contract with RKO for a number of movies and early television. So, yeah, by the time I was Timmy on Lassie, I was, I guess, what you would call a veteran actor.
Absolutely. He's done, he's more than just Timmy on Lassie.
Positively.
Not to mention that he also has a couple of books out, and which we'll talk about. And we've got lots of photos to show the people because everybody will remember.
Positively. You know what? But, Jon, you also work with Jane Wyman, if I recall.
Right.
Here's the thing, but Beverly told me, not on camera, but privately, she was a veteran like you as a little child, a child actress. And she used to tell the director, you're not doing this right. You're doing this wrong. Do it this way. Or I'm walking off the stage. How many times did that happen to you?
Well, I didn't say anything, but my mother did. See, Mom didn't have a clue that, you were just supposed to stay back and let the professionals do it all. Well, she would go up to the directors and start talking. Well, now, don't you think she's do? And then finally, somebody said, "Excuse me, Mrs. Provost, he's the director. You better leave him alone." So
That's hilarious.
it out. But the funny thing is, this really quick story. On that very first audition, towards the end of the day, all the other kids were being sent home, but I kept, they said, "No, you stay." Towards the end of the day, a woman, very flamboyant woman, walks up to my mother and says, "Hi, we think your son's going to get this job, but we need to know who your agent is." And my mom said, "Well, honey, I don't care about the job. I want to get her autograph. I want to get Jane Wyman." And we own a home. We don't need an agent. Mom didn't have a clue. And the woman said, "Oh, no. A theatrical agent. We need to know who represents your son." And Mom said, "Well, I guess I do." And they, no, you don't understand. So it turns out this woman was Lola Moore. She was the #1 child agent in Hollywood at the time. And she said, look, I will represent your son if he gets this movie. Mom said, well, how much does that cost? She goes, nothing. All I would do is take 10% of whatever your son makes. And Mom said, yeah, that sounds reasonable. So that's how it all happened.
That's how it happened.
Funny. I never knew that story. That's a great story.
You know, one of the things, Jon, is that you wrote a biography when Timmy fell down in the well. What I found so fascinating about it is the title and how you arrived at it.
Well, okay. That catchphrase, it's a legend, an urban legend. It never happened. Timmy, was not the brightest tool in the shed and mistakes, but he learned from his mistakes. Well, when we wrote my autobiography, thank God, my mother saved every script. So we had 249 scripts to go through. Timmy never fell in a well, off cliffs, into abandoned mine shafts, into culverts, you name it, but never in a well. But that term, everybody knows. I mean, Letterman, Leno, Colbert, everybody says it. I mean, in the past, Letterman did, everybody. And so Carson would even say it. So, it's just one of those urban legends that hey, why not? So that's what we decided to name to title the book, because I didn't fall in the well. I tripped a few times down the road.
Yeah.
I think but we get up and we brush ourselves off and we move on.
And another thing that you have in common with Miss Beverly, and I just think it's just heartwarming, is that both of you are crazy about animals. I mean, you've had cats and dogs and everything else, and you have a business that does that also. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. Well, going back with the animals, when I got the part of Lassie, we were living out in Pomona, and my dad was working for Convair, and we had, my sister had a horse, I had a pony, we had goats, we had all kinds of dogs. So I was always growing up around animals. But Lori worked with Red Weatherwax. Red was a great guy. He was a tough guy. He had issues, but he was a wonderful man in his heart. And he loved his animals. He loved his dogs. Old Yeller, was Weatherwax dog. Toto was a Weatherwax dog. Asta, the thin man, from the Thin Man, a Weatherwax dog. But everybody remembers Lassie. But my point is, what I learned from Rudd was to respect the animals. I saw all kinds of other trainers that you would not want to know those people. But Rudd was different. He trained his animals with love and respect. And every Lassie lived to 15, 16 years old, which is very unusual for a dog that big, that breed. But it was because the way they were fed, the way they were cared for, the way they were loved. So one thing Rudd did was we would tour the country every year, visiting all the major markets, promoting Lassie, 1 month out of the year, after 9 months of filming. If there was a children's hospital in that town, Rudd would insist that Timmy and Lassie go see the children. Now, this is the late 50s, early 60s. They didn't let dogs, they didn't have service dogs. They had guide dogs for the blind, but not service dogs. But they would let Timmy and Lassie in to see these kids. So I'm 9, 10, 8, 11 years old, seeing children my age with polio, with chickenpox, with measles, they'd been in an auto accident and they're in traction, or they'd been burnt in a house fire. But when Timmy and Lassie walked in that room, those kids were transformed. They forgot their injuries. They forgot what was happening in their lives. It made such a difference. And that carried over to me for my entire life. I've been involved with service dogs for over 25 years, with war dogs, with working with no-kill pet shelters around the country, raising money, awareness, changing laws in some states that didn't have decent laws for pets, for dogs and for cats. So yeah, it's been a very important part of my life. It is my life. My wife, Lori, she jokes that I have a little canine DNA in me, and I must. But yeah, over the years, I've looked for something to put my name on. Finally, after a few years of really hard work, we've come up with an incredible product. It's a CBD product for dogs and cats to help with anxiety and their joint issues for senior animals. And it's Provost Pets, provostpets.com. People can check that out, or they can go to my website, jonprovost.com, and see what we're up to.
It's wonderful.
It is. Jon, we went way over time right now.
Did we?
Yeah,
already.
already.
So
And we haven't even,
fast.
we haven't even touched the surface. I would like to have you come back, assuming you still like Beverly and myself, and go to part 2, part 3, part 4. You've had an amazing life. And whenever I tell people that, and I have over the last couple of weeks that I'm going to be speaking with you and Beverly, they've all said the same thing, how you've touched their lives. And I can't imagine anything that's more beautiful than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Special.
Jon, again, we thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys. And I would be more than happy to visit with you again.
Thank you, Jon.
Thank you. And
Okay. We love you. Thank you.
we'll talk to you again, Jon. Thank you again. Beverly, I thank you for allowing me this.
Wasn't it fun?
It was. And
It'll be great to have him back.
we got it. So we're going to do a lot more. So this is Dan Roberts and Beverly Washburn for Hollywood Memories saying we'll see you again next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.